Welcome to the May 11, 2026, the Surreal World. Um, what makes this surreal is the fact that there's a guy named Robert Kagan who wrote an article for The Atlantic, and which he does a very good job of explaining how not only has the United States lost this war, but we've lost it in a way that is going to be detrimental to the U.S. for decades to come, arguably as bad of a loss as Vietnam was, worse than what we dealt with Iraq, worse than Afghanistan. And what's important about this guy is that this guy is somebody joked that he was Dick Cheney's whisperer. In other words, this guy supported every intervention the U.S. has ever done. He's the Hawk's hawk. And for him to come out and say this is just extraordinary. So, huh. When people who definitely have a completely opposite worldview that I have and we're agreeing, it's either surreal or I don't know, weird. A few other points I just want to talk about that are not good. It's been discovered that Iran is the internet cables right off the Strait of Hormuz that basically feed the internet, how you're able to see me, how I'm able to access information. Iran has targeted them. They know where they are. It's a it's it's just like letting you know. We know where they are. We know how easy they are to cut, and so good luck there, UAE and Bahrain and Qatar, and yeah, it would be very bad if they decide to do anything there. Last week, I was one of the things I was following last week. We got to hear from most of the companies that sell alcohol, and we also got to hear from the companies that like Ozempic, that the makers of Ozempic and all the other pharmaceuticals that make GLP-1 drugs. And the interesting thing is that GLP-1 is really having an effect, or something is, because all alcohol consumption, from beer to wine to spirits, all of them are down. So Americans are definitely drinking less than they were before. And whether or not it's GLP-1 drugs or whatever else, it's interesting. Arguably a good thing. I'm a huge fan of GLP-1 drugs. I'd be taking a small dose of it now if I had it available to me. Um, yeah, I think it's great. And everybody I know who's done it has had real good success. So yeah. Um, and then last, I meant to include this yesterday, and I don't believe I did. I feel for the Pope. So the Pope right now doesn't want to come to America because, as he's already told his staff, he definitely does not want to come back to America. So this guy, born and raised in Chicago, is not comfortable coming back to the US. And so he tried to access his bank account in whatever bank he's banking at. And the person he finally reached a human being, and the human being said, "You have to come in. We have to do this in person. You cannot do this remotely." And he eventually reached a frustration point where he said, uh, "You should be aware that I am the Pope." And she hung up on him. Imagine being the customer service representative who hung up on the Pope. But why I can feel his pain is that I have no access to my bank account in America. My friend Ali, I signed him onto the account, but I signed him on as a co-signer that he can write checks for me and access it minorly, but he's not me, and they won't do anything unless I come in and verify. And we've been dealing with this for 2 years now, and to say it's frustrating is a complete understatement. And yeah. Uh-huh. I feel the Pope's pain. Let's just hope that Iran does not go after the undersea cables. And yeah, the president has announced that he's rejecting Iran's offer. The president doesn't have the cards he thinks he does. And his trip to China is just going to be more of an embarrassment to us. Uh, I hope for some better news. I really do. Maybe tomorrow. Bye.